Hi guys, let's discuss current affairs. Here's today's first question. Which has become India's first urban cooperative bank to transition into a small finance bank? Well, the first one is Shivalik Mercantile. It's mentioned there, so I don't really have to bother too much about it. So I'll just see the audio and everything is fine. Now the idea here is what is a small finance bank. So we're going to discuss in detail what all about small finance banks. I'll give you some notes. Please make sure you write this. This is pretty useful for the entire selection process of bank recruitment. So please write small finance banks. Underline that. First point. Registered under Companies Act 2013. Companies Act 2013. That's the first point you should know. Companies Act 2013. Next, second point, subheading, objectives, subheading, okay? Objectives. Underline that. First point. Increase financial inclusion. Increase financial inclusion by below that put a symbol or kind of whatever symbol or number, bullet point, whatever, by provision of savings methods primarily to unserved and underserved sections of the population. So the sections of the population. So the idea is to make sure that people who earlier had not had access to banking facilities through loans, deposits, all that stuff, could be served through such things. So small finance banks. That's number one. Number two objective, increase credit. Supply credit. Credit is loan, typically loan. Supply credit facilities or supply credit to small business units, comma, small farmers, comma, small and micro industries, comma, and other unorganized sector entities, through high technology, high-tech low cost operations. Through high technology, low cost operations. Let me repeat the second point. Enhance, that is, supply of credit to small or to small business units, small farmers, small and micro industries, and other. See here, when we talked about small and micro industries, we put a comma. You can put a comma before and if you're describing more than two items. So we used a comma before and and other unorganized sector entities through high-tech, low-cost operations. These are, to a large extent, some of them would serve the first point. To look at fit the first point. What is the first point? We discussed underserved and unserved sections of the population. Now, small farmers to a large extent aren't served. They are unserved, and small micro units to some extent are both unserved and underserved. So the idea of having these banks is to enhance supply of credit, and in one way enhance, second basically provide basics credit supply. So a lot of farmers don't have access to finance, loans and all that. That would mean that they would have to resort to borrowing from village money lenders and all at exorbitant, very high rates of interest. Very high rate of interest. A loan with a very high rate of interest is called usury, isn't it? There's a word usury. Related to this is usurious, means someone who charges a very high rate of interest. A person who charges a very high rate of interest is called a loan shark. Is also called a loan shark. Loan shark is a person who charges a very high rate of interest. You would have this in your gully corner, your gully corner. I mean, what I'm saying is that they are there everywhere. That's what it means. Next, subheading, capital requirement. Capital requirement. So we looked at under what law they are registered. Second, we looked at a couple of objectives. Now, number 3, what is it? Capital requirement. Capital requirement. Underline that. First point. Minimum paid up capital. Minimum paid up capital. Minimum paid up capital. Rupees 100 crore. 100 crore. Rupees 100 crore. Second point. In case an SFB, that is a small finance bank, in case a small finance bank has been converted from an urban cooperative bank, comma, the minimum paid up capital is rupees, no, I think I goofed up, I'm sorry. The minimum paid up capital, first point, is 200 crores. I'm sorry, that was my mistake, my friends. My mistake. The first point is minimum paid up capital is 200 crores. And in case the small finance bank is converted from an urban cooperative bank, the minimum paid up capital is 100 crores. 100 crores. 100 crores. 100 crores. Okay, so this particular Shivalik Mercantile Cooperative Bank has been had been an urban cooperative bank. So now that it has become an SFB, the minimum paid up capital requirement for it would be just 100 crores. 100 crores. If it's a new bank and an altogether new small finance bank, the minimum paid up capital would be 200 crores. But in the case of an UCB being converted into an SFB, it would just be 100 crores. Okay, next, promoters contribution. Next one, subheading, promoters contribution. Promoters contribution. Underline that. First point. Promoters shall hold a minimum of 40%. A minimum of 40% of the paid up capital dash, put a long hyphen is called a dash This shall be locked up. This shall be locked in. This shall be locked in for a period of 5 years. 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 From the date of commencement of the business of the SFB, from the date of the commencement of the business of SFB, small finance bank. So if the promoters hold more than 40%, typically they should hold 40%, 40% or more, and in case they hold that, whatever the capital they bring in, it will be locked in for 5 years. Means they cannot withdraw this money. So that that would generate interest. That is to ensure that there are no fly-by-night operators. That is, they won't close down the bank and run away with the people's money. At least 5 years is required. So it's locked in for that capital is locked. The promoter's capital is locked in for 5 years from the date of the commencement of the small finance, small finance bank. Next point. Second point. If initial shareholding is more than rupees 40%, comma, it should be brought down to 40% in 5 years. It should be brought down to 40% in 5 years, comma, 30% within 10 years, 30% within 10 years, and 15% within 15 years. Within 15 years. Let me repeat. If the promoters, promoters initial shareholding is more than 40%, comma, it should be brought down to 40% within the first 5 years, 30% in the first 10 years, and 15% within 15 years. That's how it is. Okay. Next point. Listing, that is stock exchange listing. Listing will be mandatory, compulsory, mandatory within 3 years, within 3 years, when the net worth, after the net worth, within 3 years, after the net worth of SFB reaches rupees 500 crore. So assets should be of 500 crores after making provision for liabilities. Okay. So listing will be mandatory within 3 years, when within 3 years after the net worth of the small finance bank reaches reaches 500 crore rupees. Okay. Next, full stop. Next point. There is something called Prudential Norms. Now, what is a guarantee that the small finance bank would not go the way of the lot of these banks that go bad? To ensure that they don't run away with people's money, they don't violate Prudential Norms, they don't violate good credit practices, the RBI has come up with what is called what they call a set of Prudential Norms. Prudential Norms. Okay, underline this and write first point. All rules applicable to scheduled commercial banks All rules applicable to commercial banks in brackets like cash reserve ratio, and statutory liquidity ratio like CRR and SLR. Statutory liquidity ratio okay will be applicable to small finance banks. So when you are talking about CRR, currently it's 3%. It's the amount of money that banks have to keep with they have to keep with the RBI. It's a 3% of their total time and demand deposits has to be kept with the RBI. That's cash reserve ratio. And SLR says that 18% as of today has to of the total deposit base of a bank has to be kept in the form of highly liquid assets like gold, government bonds, stuff like that. So 18% goes into SLR and 3% goes into CRR. Currently, it's the CRR is 3.5% as of today. On May 27th, I think May 22nd, it will become 4%. So, in sometime this month in May, it will become 4%. Okay, from 3.5 it will become to 4%. It will become 4%. Means the small finance bank and other banks will have to keep more money with the RBI. That's essentially what it means. So 4% will go with to the RBI. In the case of SLR, it's 18%. It will be put away in the form of highly liquid assets. So they can't use this money for lending. Essentially, that's what it means. Okay, next point. 75% of total lending. 75% of total lending in brackets net bank credit. There is a particular term called adjusted net bank credit. You don't have to worry too much about it. 75% of net lending, LENDING, shall be made to sectors under priority sector lending. Okay, next. So priority sector lending, full stop. So priority sector, education, agriculture, small business units, all that stuff comes in here. So next, maximum loan size, third point, maximum loan size and investment limit exposure to a single borrower or group obliger, or basically borrower. Okay, there is a technical term. Maximum loan size and investment limit exposure to a single borrower or group obliger would be restricted to 10%. Will be restricted to 10%, 15% of its capital funds. So no single borrower could have access to, the bank cannot lend to more than 10% of its total lending to single borrower. This happened in the case of the PMC bank in Punjab, in Maharashtra. The Vadhavan group, the housing real estate giant company, the total lending of PMC well, let's say it was 100 rupees, let's say 100 rupees, nearly 80% of the loans went to this particular company. Yeah, little more than 80%. So the top management of PMC was hand in glove. It is said that they were hand in glove with this group, so they used to siphon off money. Pretty bad out there, my friends. That's why the RBI has come up with these kinds of norms. Next, to make sure that loans are extended to small and medium borrowers and small and micro borrowers, to ensure that loans are extended to small and micro borrowers, comma, at least 50% of its loan portfolio should constitute loans of up to rupees 25 lakh on an ongoing basis. Okay, so what it means is that more than 50% of the loan should not be of 25 lakhs, the size of the loan size, it's called. It should not be more than 25 lakhs. Now, who would borrow 25 lakh rupees? Only a large borrower. Yeah, you could not. No, you can't even say that medium borrower, but large borrower. So at least 50% of these loans that a SFB extends to people should be of less than 25 lakh rupees. Okay. Next, last point. It cannot lend to promoters. Comma, major shareholders. It cannot lend to promoters, comma, major shareholders. Who are major shareholders? So in brackets, having or with more than 10% of paid up capital, 10% of paid up capital, 10% of paid up capital, 10% of paid up capital. So someone who owns more than 10% of the paid up capital, okay, is called a major shareholder. So next, to repeat, cannot lend to promoters, comma, major borrowers, comma, relatives of both relatives and entities of promoters, So any business unit related to promoter, anyone, some uncle, aunt, sister-in-law and all that, related to promoters. Okay. So to repeat, relatives and promoters of entities, full stop, kind of. So in case a promoter has, say I'm a promoter of a bank and I have some kind of investment in the relatives business, that business cannot be cannot be advanced a loan by an SFB. That's the idea, because this is a conflict of interest. So I would lend more there, and I wouldn't be very strict with the repayment schedule. I may not be very strict with the repayment schedule. So this is something very important. The money cannot be lent to shareholders, okay, to promoters, major shareholders, and relatives and what we call relatives and entities associated with promoters. See, today you would have found that I was a little jittery when I was talking about this particular thing, because see, this is when I give notes, I just go as it works. I normally I don't use big language, big words. I don't use tough language, big words. So I'm sometimes I might have made up my mind about, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about, but then I realized this is a very tough word. Like, for example, the word obliger. It's a tough word, so I wrote it there. But otherwise it's basically lenders, where it's all about borrowers and lenders, nothing more than that. Okay. So this is the first bank I was talking about, Punjab and Cooperative, Maharashtra Cooperative Bank. This is a bank that has gone into liquidation. It is people who have put money into this bank as deposits. They have suffered a big deal because RBI has put a moratorium on this bank that people cannot withdraw more than X amount of money. They suffered a big deal, and they suffered because because the promoters of this bank were hand in glove with some crooked borrowers. Yeah, it's always a dangerous thing, my friends. So from here to the next one, so it was a very long discussion. Which has become the world's first country to announce the regulation of self-driving vehicles at slow speeds on motorways? United Kingdom. Now, self-driving vehicles is a very scary thing to even list, which means that cars can drive themselves. That is what it means. So instead of using this, the UK uses a different term. It says that we are going to use this. They have this legal language called automated lane keeping system. Automated lane keeping system, AKLS. See, they didn't want to use that in their law. They don't want to use this term self-driving vehicles because it could make people complacent when they sit in a car that the car would drive itself. No, they are using this term automated lane keeping system. I was reading on this and I found this to be very fascinating, but there's always a danger that people generally, by nature, people are complacent, the way we can see it around us basically. And slow speed, what is the speed? Maximum 60 kmph is the speed. So what it would do is they're coming with a set of laws, sensors they would put on the roads and everything. So when the vehicle, self-driving vehicle is on a particular lane, if it crosses a lane, the sensors would guide it to keep, push it back into the lane. That is what they're going to do. They're coming up with a set of laws because as of now, there is no self-driving vehicle on the UK roads as of now, but they're planning to bring them on roads. So to tell you a little about these countries, Portugal, capital is Lisbon. President is Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa. And that's the president. This country has a prime minister who is of Indian origin, Antonio Costa. It's a Portuguese name, so you speak like that with a suppressed air. Antonio Costa or Antonio Costa. Okay. The currency is euro. It's a euro zone member. And to take it further from here, United Kingdom, it's London. In the next class, I'll tell you about I said that I would discuss the difference between the UK, Britain, and all that. Maybe in the next class. London, and then we have Boris Johnson. You all know, that's why I'm writing in a small space here. Boris Johnson is a Prime Minister of Britain. And the currency, as you know, is the British pound. It's called sterling pound. Simply write pound. So capital is London. Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister, and pound is the currency. Okay. Portugal. Portugal's we discussed. Greece. Athens is the capital. Athens. The Prime Minister is Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Kyriakos Mitsotakis is the Prime Minister of Greece, and the currency is euro. Yeah. Poland, last one. Poland's capital is Warsaw. Warsaw. You see, it starts with W, ends with W. It's the only such city in the capital city in the world that has this kind of arrangement where it starts with W, ends with W. Okay, Warsaw, and the president is Andrzej Duda. No, 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 no. Andrzej. Andrzej Duda. Andrzej Duda. Then that's the president. The currency is zloty. So it's not a member of the Eurozone. Ireland, I'll think I have a map on the next slide, so I'll take you there. But before that, Ireland's capital is Dublin. They have a prime minister, but the prime minister. This is Michael. Okay, not Michael. Michael. What is that? Martin. Arre. Michael Martin. Happens. Michael Martin. They don't call him the position prime minister. There is a particular word for it. Taoiseach. There is a word for it, and it's called Taoiseach. Taoiseach. Okay. So the currency is euro. This is, you see this in green here. This is Ireland. This is all Britain. And Poland we just mentioned. This is Poland. This is Greece. Plenty of islands in Greece. This is continental Greece, and then we have a lot of islands down there. Okay. So to build resilient supply chains in the Indo-Pacific region, which is Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean region, which of the following nations have formally launched a supply chain resilience initiative? Well, it would be India, Japan, and Australia. So what is this about? You please write a couple of points, just 2 points, okay? Yeah. See, I'll show you what is the problem. So we actually, this region and here, see, this is called a Strait of Malacca. Strait. Those of you not very familiar, a strait is a narrow channel of water that separates two land bodies. So there is a land here, there is a land on either side of where I am seated. Water body here. This water body, what we call a strait. Okay. Now it completely separates to this land bodies. Like between India and Sri Lanka, we have the Palk Strait, Palk. Similarly, there is something here called the Malacca Strait. There is a place called Malacca Strait. This is one. Then there is this problem with China's growing aggression in the South Pacific, South China Sea. China claims this entire area as its own. Someday I'll tell you this entire story about this. Okay. China says this is ours. This entire thing is ours. This complete thing is ours. It cannot be. This under international law it's illegal, but China says it's ours. So, if tomorrow China forbids ships from coming in, or it kind of puts an obstruction, then the supply would get disrupted. Supply of raw materials, supply of finished goods that come into, let's say, Japan, the supply would get disrupted. So Indian goods, if they have to travel, let's say for example or African goods, if they have to travel to Japan, they can't go through a Chinese controlled area if China does not permit. So to make sure that these kinds of problems do not happen, okay. And another thing is that China has an ongoing trade dispute with the United States. So China-US trade disputes, then China's aggressive behavior in the South China Sea are all contributing to three major countries that are seriously, angered by China's aggressive behavior: Japan, Australia, and India. Traditionally, Japan and India have been anti-China. Australia in the past had been pro-China. But of late, they have seen that China has been very aggressive in their own country, where the Chinese government is trying to influence Australian politics by bribing some of those politicians there, plus by when at the same time influencing Chinese students in Australia. They are doing this in a very big way. I follow these things. So you write this couple of points about this supply chain. Okay, you write supply chain resilience initiative. Underline that first point. This is an approach. This policy is an approach. This policy is an approach to help a country ensure a diversified to help a country ensure a diversified supply resources and cut its risk and cut its supply risk, cut its supply risks by buying from a variety of suppliers. I've used the word buying. Some you could also write sourcing from a source. Basically, there's nothing called sourcing. It's all buying. Okay, buying from a variety of or from a number of suppliers instead of being dependent on just a few. So it's a basic commonsensical approach that instead of being dependent on a few suppliers, let's diversify our resources, so that tomorrow if something goes bad, we won't suffer for lack of, resources, especially raw materials and finished goods. Now, for example, you look at something like oil and gas. Now, historically, India had been dependent on West Asia for oil and gas, but of late, because of the US sanctions, what we are doing, and because of the OPEC not listening to us, Saudi Arabia not, all these countries doing their own stuff. So what we are doing is we are cutting down on oil and gas imports from West Asia, and we are looking at America, we're looking at Angola, we are looking at Namibia or Nigeria, these countries. Okay, to buy stuff from them, to buy oil and gas from them. So we are diversifying resources. Earlier we used to import a lot from Venezuela, but the US has imposed sanctions against Venezuela, which means that we cannot buy stuff from Venezuela, because the US has said that if you buy from Venezuela, and then you can look at Iran also, if you buy from Iran and Venezuela, then Indian companies that engage in such trade with Iran will be subject to US sanctions, and all the assets of Indian companies in the US will be frozen. The Indian assets of such Indian companies will be frozen. Plus, such Indian companies will not be allowed to transact business with any American company. Now, we don't really want that kind of a situation. Okay, so we stopped buying from Venezuela, we stopped buying from Iran. So, but we are looking at alternate supplies. So we are going everywhere. Because it is very important to diversify supplies. Okay, last point. Unexpected events like natural and unnatural unexpected events, you can write comma also, unnatural events like, or unexpected events like natural and unnatural developments can disrupt supplies, disrupt supplies, which in turn could disrupt economic activity, disrupt economic activity, disrupt economic activity. Okay, so you see this pandemic now. Because of the pandemic, we can't really, import a lot of stuff. We can't import. We are not able to export stuff. So so when we don't export, let's say we export a particular commodity to country Y. When we don't export this, and this country Y uses as commodity as a raw material, it simply means that the economic activity in company Y gets disrupted. Okay, similarly, if because of certain reasons that we are not able to import some finished good, then people like us would suffer supply problems. Okay, when supply goes down, what happens is prices increase. When that inflation impacts everyone else, that's a very bad thing. So to ensure that these kinds of situations don't come because of supply constraints, 3 countries have launched the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative. Okay. Australia, one last thing about Australia, what I can tell you a little about Australia. Australia's capital is Canberra. Okay. Prime Minister is Scott Morrison. Currency is Australian dollar. Chaliye. North Korea, Pyongyang, Kim Jong-un, and the currency is won. Okay, I think Maldives we discussed recently, so we'll not repeat there. See, this is all Indonesia. It's a very large country. You can see the same color. This island is the New Guinea Island. It's called the New Guinea Island. It's the world's second largest island. After Greenland, the largest island. Greenland is the largest, the second largest. So when you say after Greenland, this is the largest, it means that overall this is the second largest. The western part of this country is Indonesia. Eastern part is a separate country called Papua New Guinea. Okay. Next. Which country has recently drafted legislation to strengthen its counter-terrorism laws by permitting the use of algorithms to detect activity on jihadist and other extremist websites? France. There is a great deal of terrorism in that Europe is facing, especially from lone wolf targets. Lone wolves basically are individuals who have been radicalized by the ideology of Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and splinter groups. These guys get radicalized through, by talking with people, joining chat rooms on the internet. The major issue in France, especially France. France has a substantially large Muslim population, especially from people who have come from North Africa, Algeria, Morocco. Algeria and Morocco. So major issues there. Just a couple of countries here that I could tell you a little about. Turkey, capital is Ankara. The president is Recep Tayyip Erdogan. And the currency is lira. Armenia, the capital is Yerevan. It's a country near the Caspian Sea. Yerevan. The Prime Minister is Nikol Pashinyan. And the currency is Dram. Couple of extra points about Armenia, right, please? World's oldest Christian country, which means that the Raja here back in 300 AD, just about 300 years after Jesus is born, the Raja here adopted Christianity as a state religion. Okay, and if you go a little further, you would find that this country, the second point, First is oldest Christian country. Second point, has an ongoing territorial dispute, has an ongoing territorial dispute, has an ongoing territorial dispute with Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh. There is a region called Nagorno-Karabakh which is populated by Christian Armenian Christians but is physically located in Azerbaijan. Armenia says it's ours, Azerbaijan says no, it's ours. So they have been fighting. Recently, Azerbaijan won a major battle against Armenia in this region. Okay. Whom of the following persons co-chaired the 23rd ASEAN-India senior officials meeting along with the permanent secretary of Thailand? Whatever. Not very important. ASEAN, the answer is Riva Ganguly Das. She is a Indian Foreign Service officer who is the secretary East for East office, East affairs. So that she is not very important, but I can tell you what is important. ASEAN is important. You please write this. ASEAN. Association of Southeast Asian nations. Association of Southeast Asian nations. Southeast Asian nations. Underline that. First point. Established 1967. Established 1967. Second point. Head office, secretariat. Head office or secretariat. Head office dash Jakarta. 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 Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia. Jakarta. Third point. Secretary General or Chief, you could write whatever. Lim Jok Hoi. Lim Jok Hoi. In brackets, Brunei. Brunei. Okay, Lim Jok Hoi, Brunei. So, leave in space. Next point, sorry. 10 members and 2 observers and 2 observer states. 10 members and 2 observer states. So now write the names of the members. You may just be asked which of the following is not a member of ASEAN. So you should know what. And once you know the physical location of this region, what region comprises ASEAN, Southeast Asia, then you will be very, easily, able to locate. You will very easily be able to locate these countries and identify the members. So write 1. Members. So we are going to write the names of all 10 members. Myanmar. Next, Thailand. This is Thailand. Number 1, 2, 3. Cambodia. Here there is this tiny landlocked country. 4. Laos. Okay, then this country here, Vietnam. So 5 countries east of India, straight you can actually put in your brain. Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. 5 countries. So we got 5. Now we're going to look at the other 5. So let me clear this first. Philippines. This island country is Philippines. This is spelling. It's named after King Philip II of Spain. So Philippines. Next. You see this country here, this entire country, we just mentioned a while ago. It is Indonesia. Indonesia. So we got 7. Then we got Malaysia. This is 1 and 2. This is Malaysia. These two parts. Malaysia. We got 8. 9. Here, what is this place? Singapore. You see this place here at the bottom where my cursor is? This one, this one, this one. Okay. This is Singapore. Sorry guys. Singapore. Oh. Let me use the pen again. Let me select the pen. Singapore. So we got 9. But then we mentioned the Secretary General is Lim. Yeah, he's from Brunei. So this is Brunei. Where the number 2 is mentioned here. Within, see this island called Borneo. Southern part is Indonesia. Northern part is Malaysia. Within the northern part there is a country called Brunei. It's a kingdom, an Islamic kingdom. Okay, where the Raja is Muda Hassan al Wadullah Bolkiah. Okay, so Brunei. Got it, guys? Easy to know. Always easy. Observer states are, you could write next point. Observer states: Timor-Leste. Earlier it was called East Timor. Timor-Leste and Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea. I mentioned this. See, this is Timor-Leste, the eastern part of this island. You see this island here? Okay. The eastern part of this island is East Timor or Timor-Leste, and you see this particular region here, this particular part, this is Papua New Guinea. Okay, it's fun to learn, trust me, and especially through through maps and everything. With which country has the Union Cabinet recently approved the signing and ratification of an agreement on customs cooperation, mutual administrative system assistance in customs matter? UK. Hardly anything to discuss. Okay. Lebanon, maybe I'll take you to Lebanon in the next class, but for now it's not important. But anyway, chalo, koi baat nahi. Beirut is the capital. Hassan Diab is the prime minister. Is quit, but he has been brought back. Pound, Lebanese pound is a currency. Okay. South Africa we have been discussing for an age now. Whoa, for several years. Okay. New Zealand's capital Wellington. You know this, Wellington. And the prime minister is Jacinda Ardern. And currency is New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar. Yeah. Who among the following persons have recently been made the new Finance Secretary of India? T.V. Somanathan. T.V. Somanathan. Rajesh Verma. Well, these guys are not very important. Ajay Kumar Bhalla is Home Secretary of India. Anil Kumar Jain, Coal Secretary. Tarun Bajaj is a Revenue Secretary. Not very important, but chalo koi baat nahi. Okay. Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan awardee Manoj Das, who recently passed away, was an eminent Odia and English author. Okay, he was also a great devotee of Sri Aurobindo, and he spent the last 50 years of his life at in the Aurobindo ashram at Puducherry. That's where he passed away. Okay, so couple of books of Sri Das, would be The Escapist. Yes, The Escapist. I have a short story collection of his, The River. Okay, but not beyond that. That's the only book I have. Very short one, very thin book it is. The Escapist is one book, and another one, Odia work, Amrut Phala. So two books, The Escapist and second Amrut Phala. He received the Padma Bhushan sometime last year, if I'm not wrong. India's third highest civilian award. Highest would be Bharat Ratna, given only to civilians. Okay, Bharat Ratna, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri, 4. So, the food delivery app Zomato has recently filed papers for 80 to 50 crore initial public offering, first public issue of a company. It's an unlisted company. The first time it's going for a share, to raise money from people. So, first public issue is called initial public offering. Initial means first. The CEO of Zomato is Deepinder Goyal. This is DG Deepinder Goyal. This is Pankaj Chadha. Okay. These two guys started Zomato. They are the founders of Zomato. Please write this. Co-founders of Zomato, Pankaj Chadha and Deepinder Goyal. It's a worldwide company. It's not just India. It's a worldwide company. So, next. Why don't we look at the choices? Ankit Bhati and Bhavish Agarwal, okay, are co-founders of Ola. Co-founders of Ola. Ankit Bhati and Bhavish Agarwal are co-founders of Ola. Sri Harsha Majeti plus Nandan Reddy plus Rahul Jaimini are all co-founders of Swiggy. Co-founders of Swiggy. Okay, yeah. People work very hard, my friends. That's how they build these companies. Who became the first woman officer to be appointed the officer commanding in the BRO, Border Roads Organization, where she will be responsible for providing connectivity through an as such she is not very important as far as the BRO is concerned, but who is the chief? See, BRO makes roads along the border of India. Recently I had been to Tripura and most of the roads are built by BRO, okay, especially to the border areas and all that. And you know what, the Director General of BRO is Lieutenant General Rajiv Chaudhary. If you go to the website of BRO, it would almost be impossible for you to find the name of Lieutenant General Rajiv Chaudhary. I'm not kidding. You will not almost find. You will find a message from the DG. You would find the names of ex-DGs, but you would not find his name. And I would surprised to know that. I don't know, but what's wrong, I thought. Yeah. So, the government of the National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2020 came into effect on the 2nd of April this year. In this context, the government in Delhi means Lieutenant Governor otherwise. See, the lieutenant, if you look at this word lieu and then tenant, lieu means in place of tenant. In place of the main holder is the Lieutenant Governor. In place of the main holder is governor, it's lieutenant. Okay, so you could write just 2-3 points. Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, not the law, this is the constitutional head of National Capital Territory of Delhi. Constitutional head of the National Capital Territory of Delhi. Okay, next point. The post of LG was established in 1966. The post of LG was established in 1966. Next, the current LG is Anil Bajal. Okay. According to the Asian Development Outlook report, the Indian economy is poised to grow at 11% in the current financial year. The report has been published by the Asian Development Bank. Now, these are all subject to see all growth numbers are subject to a lot of conditions. You know, you look at no policy disruptions, normal monsoon, yeah, no pandemic. Right now, pandemic shocks. Now, the second wave is impacting the economic growth, impacting economic activity, which could impact economic growth. A lot of people are are losing jobs because of the second wave. Business are getting impacted in a very bad way. So a lot of things are happening, a lot of conjectures, a lot of guesses, a lot of ifs and buts for us to grow at 11%. Let's hope we grow at that rate. Yeah, and the second wave is behind us. Asian Development Bank, it's headquartered in Manila, which is the capital of Philippines. Manila, the capital of Philippines, and its chief is Masat Sugu. The president is Masat Sugu Asakawa. Masat Sugu Asakawa. He's from Japan. Okay. He's from Japan. Next. What do you need to know? I think we've been discussing all these organizations for a long time. Chalo koi baat nahi. I'll just tell you about the World Economic Forum. You could write this World Economic Forum. Established 1971. Next. Founder chairman currently is still around. Founder chairman Klaus Schwab, Switzerland. Klaus Schwab, Switzerland. Next, head office, Colony, Geneva. Simply Colony, Switzerland. Colony, Switzerland. Last point. Private informal platform for discussions on topics of international importance, on subjects of international importance. In brackets, like climate change and trade development. Okay. Every year in January they come down to Davos, a place in Switzerland, and all the CEOs, political leaders, they come down, discuss issues. Nothing is policy binding, but then they give direction to policy making. That's it. And this year, because of the pandemic, they are moving from January. In January, they could not hold anything. So they're going to Singapore in May to hold an annual meet. Let's see how it works out. This month, they're going to be in Singapore. But given the pandemic, the second wave, in Singapore also there is a second wave now. So there could be a problem in holding this summit. Atanu Das and Deepika Kumari recently won. This is husband and wife. Okay, they're husband and wife. They recently won the recurve gold medals at the World Cup Stage 1. They're both archers. Yeah, they come from humble beginning, humble roots, and they work extremely hard to be world champions. If I'm not wrong, Deepika Kumari is a former world champion, former world number 1, and she's also a Commonwealth gold medalist. So these are people who work extremely hard, and we should be learning from such people. The idea is that, look, there should not be anything that that could be an excuse for us. And to a large extent, some of us might not have had very good childhood in terms of access to resources, but now we have some. You can use the internet, you can use all that stuff that was not there in the past. So use this well. when you're chatting with a friend, hanging out with a friend on the, on WhatsApp and everything, open, another app. Let's say something like WhatsApp. When you're on WhatsApp, open a news app. So send a message to your friend and come to this app, read a story on news app, or go to Wikipedia and learn about some place that you come from, some country somewhere, or some news story. When your friend replies, go to that app and again, what we say, discuss, chat. Again, send a message, come here. So the same time that you're using to chat, you could use to learn. That's what you should be doing. This is the time we need to maximize. People like the founders of Swiggy, Zomato and all, they work extremely hard. Bill Gates used to work for 20 hours every day when he started Microsoft. It's not something that we can sit here and build a world-class company. We need to build. If we have to work hard, we should be guided by our enthusiasm. We need to have a goal. This is what I want to do in life. Okay, there will be lots of problems. Tell yourself there will be lots of problems, lots of obstacles, but I'll work hard to overcome every problem. That's us. You got to be doing this because a better, brighter, better future awaits us. Okay, and learning is the key to all these things, my friends. The International Chernobyl Disaster Remembrance Day is observed on 26 April to raise awareness of the consequences of risk of nuclear energy. The place Chernobyl is in Ukraine. You see, this is Chernobyl. In 1986, there was a nuclear, near the town of यहाँ पे एक शहर था Pripyat. Okay, this nuclear reactor blew up, and this nuclear reactor that blew up is said to have killed at least 86 people. That is the official Soviet Union, because Ukraine in those days, this is all Soviet Union, my friends. Okay, let me tell you, this is all Soviet Union. Make a line. I'll draw a line here. ये पूरा Soviet Union था. They were all states in Soviet Union, my friends. This is Soviet Union. Now they are independent countries. So Ukraine, is home to Pripyat town where the Chernobyl nuclear reactor is located, and in 1986 it exploded. It was rated at 7, maximum severity 7. Remember, this is rated at 7. This is the most what is called maximum severity. So intense was the nuclear the explosion. It was rated at maximum severity on the international nuclear event scale. There is a particular scale. Okay, this measures the intensity of nuclear disasters. So international nuclear event scale के ऊपर this was rated at 7, which is the maximum. There have only been 2 incidents that have been rated like this. One is this Chernobyl nuclear reactor disaster of 1986, and then the Fukushima nuclear disaster that happened because of an earthquake and tsunami in Japan. Fukushima is in North Japan. So major problems there, my friends. If you would want to know more about it, I would suggest you watch a series called Chernobyl. There is a series called Chernobyl on Disney Hotstar. Okay, I watched it long back when it came. It's just 5 episodes. सिर्फ 5 episodes हैं. आप देखिए, and you would be wonderstruck because of the severity of the scale. Though of course now it's all told not in documentary form. It's a story. It's actually a story. Okay, so please watch it. It's a terrific story. So this is the area that was exposed to nuclear radiation. A lot of people have died over the years from exposure to radioactive stuff from this nuclear plant. But the USSR consistently played down the severity. Okay. Belgium, Latvia, this is Latvia. These 3 countries are called, Baltic states. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Okay? Latvia, capital is Riga. The Prime Minister is Krišjānis Kariņš. Chris Janis, Karens. The currency is euro. It's a euro. It's a euro country. So the RBI has joined the network for greening the financial system. Which of the following statements about NGFS are true? All are right, so I'm not going to discuss this. Okay, because it's already there and everything explained. What is this? The aim is to accelerate the scaling of green finance. There is this entirely new subject called green finance, where no activity that would impact the environment would be financed. That's the idea. Okay. Which private bank has reappointed Amitabh Chaudhary as its MD and CEO for 3 years with effect from 1st January 2022? So it's there for the next 3 years. So 2025, this guy will be the CEO of Axis Bank. Yes Bank, Prashant Kumar. This bank is not doing well. Seriously. Prashant Kumar. ICICI Bank, Sandeep Bakshi. HDFC Bank, the CEO is Sashi Jagdishan. Kotak Mahindra Bank, Uday Kotak is the CEO. Uday Kotak. Okay. Offshore banking means, it's a very good definition. Offshore, not in India, within the country. Let's say India is not offshore banking in India. But India, some other thing. A branch of a bank in another country or tax haven where the taxes are extremely low or no scrutiny of your money is done. Accepting investments of private customers and not accepting local deposits in that country. So you go to a place called Bahamas in West Indies. You put money there. That bank there, offshore bank, will not accept any deposits from locals. It is only for foreigners. This is done primarily to put away black money. Okay, yeah. Which of the following services cannot be offered by the Aadhaar enabled payment system? Demat account cannot be opened. Demat account. Demat is dematerialization. Dematerialization is a kind of what we call it's a kind of an electronic account. Remember this. Dematerialization dash electronic account for holding of shares and other securities. Earlier you were given, let's say this was a share certificate. Okay, earlier you were given a share certificate and you had to hold it in paper. When you bought shares, you were given a paper certificate. Now they say no, everything will be electronic. So just like bank account, or your email account, it's just like an email account. When you buy shares, they get deposited in your Demat account. When you sell them, they go out. Basically, that's it. Dematerialization. Material is physical, something they can touch and feel. This is material, something that you can touch and feel. Dematerial, something that cannot be touched, felt. So it's not physical. Earlier it was physical, now it's not physical share, basically. So you can't open a Demat account with AEPS. What is the role of banking correspondents? These are all easy questions, easy to understand. Most of you would already know the answers to these questions. What is the role of business correspondents as envisaged by the Reserve Bank of India? To provide banking services in those areas where banks cannot go and set up a branch because that would be very expensive. Infrastructure is expensive, land, rent, cost, plus the fact that salaries have to be paid, people have to be moved, and it's very expensive. So what they do, instead of a branch, they appoint a rural correspondent for a set of villages. This guy goes around and provides the same services that a branch would normally do. That's a banking correspondent. Okay. For a bank, which of the following carries the highest risk and loss in case of default by customers? Credit card dues. So when I use this credit card, let's say I use this credit card and I spend, let's say, 4 lakh rupees. This is, let's say there is a limit and I have a limit on this card, let's say, of some 4 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, whatever the limit. I use the entire money. Then I don't pay. then what will the bank do? Nothing. You can do nothing. Why? Because that is how it is. Because when I borrow money, when I use a credit card, I don't put any collateral. I'm using the bank's money to make a purchase, to pay for a service, to pay for a product. You got this? So I go and use this. I use this credit card. I use a bank's money. So this is an unsecured loan. I am using the bank's money unsecured without putting anything in security. This is the most risky product of a bank. Unsecured. There is a credit card. Credit card, my friends. People loot the banks all the time. See, you look at the other ones, home loans, gold loans. There is always a product that you put. Home loan, the house is mortgaged, girvi, with the bank. Okay, gold loan, of course, you put gold and then get money. Basically, vehicle loans also, it's hypothecated. The ownership of whatever you buy, consumer durable or some asset you buy, is always with the bank till you clear the loan. But in the case of credit card use, no security is put, so that's very risky. Giant meter wave radio telescope was bested with the IEEE milestone recognition. In which place? This is in Pune. Not very important for us to discuss now. Okay, Pune. Pune is also home to the National Institute of Virology. National Institute of Virology. Okay. Gwalior is home to the Indian Institute of Tourism. Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management. Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management. ठीक है? Chennai Central Leather Research Institute. Central Leather Research Institute. Chaliye, a couple of last questions. Which state government has proposed its second biosphere reserve, Mahendragiri Hills in Eastern Ghats? Odisha government. They already have one, Mahendragiri Hills. See, this is a single mountain, and this is about 1500 meters tall. That's about, I think it's 1500 meters. That's about it. Okay, not very tall. The Eastern Ghats are not a contiguous area. They are all, a range here, a range there. There in between there is no mountain range basically. So Chhattisgarh, Bhupesh Baghel, CM. Andhra Pradesh, Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy. Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy. Tamil Nadu, most likely M.K. Stalin. Election results have come, and this guy will be the new CM. Jharkhand, Hemant Soren. Odisha, Naveen Patnaik. The Indian Army has formally closed the military forms after 132 years of service in a formal ceremony. Okay, it was first established at Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh. The idea behind this was to provide cow milk, hygienic cow milk to British soldiers. I mean, soldiers in the British Army, Indian and foreigners, to provide pure hygienic cow milk to the soldiers of the British Army. That was the basic objective. And you know what? They were established, the military had to establish, the British Army had to establish this primarily because these cantonments where the troops were stationed, they were all located away from the city. And it was very difficult for them to get milk and all that. So this is why they had to establish these farms. Now the cantonments are part of the city. In Jamane means cantonments were away from the city, now they're part of the city. Okay. So this is Prayagraj, and I think that's about it. Kanauj is where King Harshavardhana. Oh, I just love this choice. Harshavardhana. King Harshavardhana ruled between AD 606 647. ठीक है, काम करते हैं. Next class I'll tell you about calendars, nothing more, calendars. And he belonged to the Pushyabhuti dynasty. I love history. I really love history. I just found the choice, so I'm telling you. Pushyabhuti dynasty. He belonged to the Pushyabhuti dynasty. King Harshavardhana ruled from Kannauj in Uttar Pradesh. He was a playwright. He wrote Nagananda, Ratnavali, and Priyadarshika. He was born a Shaivite and a Shaivite Hindu, and then later in his life he turned a Buddhist under the influence of a Chinese, Buddhist monk, M-O-N-K, monk. What is the rank of India in the World Economic Forum's 2021 Global Gender Gap Index? Well, it is 140. 140. Our rank is 140. These are the top 10. I have them here, so I don't have to discuss. But global gender gap, what is the index built on? You could write this. Global gender gap index based on four parameters. Four parameters. Okay, right. One, economic, first one, economic opportunity and participation. Economic opportunity and participation, that's first one. Second one, educational attainment. Educational attainment. Third one, I'll write it here. Third one, health and survival. Health and survival. I write and like this, multiple ways, okay? Fourth one, political empowerment. Political empowerment. See, if you look at Iceland, 89.2, it's almost closer to gender gap. I mean, it's pretty close, just 10% remaining kind of thing. But you look at India, I was going through this and I found that India's number is 625. At rank 140, we are at 625, or you can make it 62.5. At 10 on 62.5. There's a long way to go, for us to bridge the gender gap. On an average, it would take 135 years for the world to close the gender gap. 135 years. Before the pandemic struck, it was 99 years. After the pandemic, it's 135 years. I would suggest you read this Global Gender Gap Index to understand a few more things about women empowerment, everything. Yeah. So if you want the names of the bottom three, I can give you the names of the bottom three. They ranked 156 countries. 156. Last one is Afghanistan. 155 Yemen. 154 Iraq. Enough here. The International Day of Conscience. Conscience is Antaratma. The conscience. How do you say that? Conscience, not conscience. Conscience. This is how you pronounce it. Conscience. Okay? The International Day of Conscience is celebrated all around the world on the same day as the National Maritime Day. April 5th. Maritime Day. National Maritime Day. April 5th is also the National Maritime Day. April 13th, Jallianwala Bagh Massacre Day. Jallianwala Bagh Massacre Day, or simply Jallianwala Bagh Day. On this day in 1919, 1919, more than 320 people were killed by the British troops at Jallianwala Bagh, who were, these people had assembled there to protest peacefully, but the British had other ideas. April 7th, World Health Day. World Health Day. World Health Day. That's the day in 1948 the World Health Organization was established. Then April 10th. April 10th is Homeopathy Day. Homeopathy Day. April 10th, Homeopathy Day. April 11th, National Safe Motherhood Day. Safe Motherhood Day. Safe Motherhood Day. Got it? All of them. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Have a lot of fun. Let us know what you thought of this. What do you think of this session? And stay curious, stay safe. Thank you for being here.